Critical thinking in music is a process where we give students the opportunity for speculative thought. We use music, that's the medium or the tool, and then we provide opportunities where they can speculate on what's going on there. In the critical thinking music experience, the facilitator will say, let's take a minute to listen to this music. And then once they've heard it, he'll say, what's going on here? They'll follow that up with the responses of what more can we find as it dries up, and where we need to expand. He will say, what do you hear that makes you say that? The facilitator's role is there to not only guide the process through the obvious things such as playing the music and stating the questions, which are, once they've heard the music, to say what's going on here, and not what do we hear, because if you say what do we hear, you are going to you limit the responses to actual concrete things they hear in the music. A laundry list of a loud sound, a violin, and lists are generated. But if we say what's going on here, it opens it up to stories, narratives, sounds like, feels like. So the whole spectrum is open, and it initiates a far more creative thinking process.
What is going on in this music, Camden?
I think a frog and a leapfrog and a donkey and a cheetah and a lion.
So you hear lots of animals like a leapfrog and a cheetah and a lion. Harper thinks it's a party with candles and cake. All of us thinking that she hears flutes and xylophones. What did you hear that makes you say it's a leapfrog and a cheetah and a lion?
As they're grappling with their own images that are forming in their mind and searching for words, they are also hearing the responses of others, which triggers things they were thinking, and suddenly a whole new area of words, and oh, I can go down that road, or oh, I can discuss it in that way. And this opens up the discussion or the thinking, but essentially it still remains with the individual to wrestle with a whole new thought process. Then the facilitator continues to listen to responses, and an essential part of what the facilitator does is to paraphrase what students have offered, categorize different contributions by noticing and recognizing this student and that student by name said this about the timbre, and noticing what they had said, and then perhaps categorizing again about other sounds that they heard or features that they heard. So the facilitator has the role of rearticulating the verbiage without adding new thoughts or new information, only using what was offered from the students.
So George is telling me it's not an echo song. What do you hear that makes you say it's not an echo song?
It's the song between cake, and it's not an echo song.
Oh, it's a song that reminds you of cake, and it's not an echo song. What more can we find?
Sometimes they'll make vague observations such as, well, it sounded pretty, or it sounded good. You have to ask for evidence. You have to say, well, what did you hear that makes you say that? That is how they have to support with whatever evidence they could find in the hearing of why it's pretty or why it made them feel good. There comes a point where this tends to kind of die down, and the contributions dry up a little bit, which is a good point to let them listen to the music again. And it's amazing, after having discussed it a bit and thought about it and kind of dug deep in my memory of what I just heard, and I hear it that second time, how more alert they are and trying to pinpoint things. Once they've heard it that second time, the facilitator then invites again what was going on there. If there are still rich observations and pertinent observations being made, you can keep going, and if they need to hear it again, as many times as they need. It's important because they have to come up with their own ideas. It's essential to the creative process. It's a way of thinking. It's a creative way of thinking. Because we say, what could this be? What did I hear? How can I connect it to something I've heard before? How does this even make sense? What does it sound like? What happened there? And that is the first kind of thinking process that happens, and then they encounter that second stumbling block. It's verbalizing, which is the next critical step in our own understanding of our art form. We need to be analytical in what we hear and how we perceive our art form, and we need words and vocabulary to do so. But we're scrambling around inside our head trying to sift through thousands of words we know to make that fit. It sounded echoey, like wood, clicking, and that right there, I mean, isn't that what communication is all about? Is finding words to express articulately what we experience and feel and see.